All right, get ready to dive in, everybody, because today we're looking at two stories that you wouldn't think have much in common.
Yeah, that's right.
Peter Pan and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Ahoy, matey.
We're going to be digging into some fan theories and see if maybe the Pirates movies took some inspiration from Peter Pan.
All right.
We've got passages from the original Peter Pan story and some fun facts about how those Pirates movies got made and even some popular conspiracy theories.
Oh, this is going to be fun. I love a good conspiracy theory.
Let's see what we can dig up, shall we?
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what we find because both stories have these magical islands like Neverland and Isla de Muerta, where it seems like anything can happen.
Right, those islands are full of mystery, and it's like an escape from the normal world.
Yeah, like they're not even real, like in a dream or something.
Yeah, and speaking of escaping,
Yeah.
let's talk about our main characters, Peter Pan and Captain Jack Sparrow. They're both like these eternal youths who just don't want to follow the rules.
Yeah, and it's more than that. They just want to be free, And I think everyone kind of feels that way sometimes.
I know, I do.
A little bit.
Yeah, and they're both so clever. They always seem to be one step ahead of everyone else.
Outsmarting their enemies.
Yeah, and they've got that sense of humor that makes them really likable, even when they're not doing the right thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure, even when they're being mischievous.
Totally. And don't forget, both stories are all about treasure.
Right, gold and jewels and pirates.
Uh-huh.
And like the treasure of staying young and having fun in Peter Pan.
It's like both stories use treasure to show us something deeper, something that we all want.
Something you're all searching for.
And even the other characters are kind of like that too, like the Lost Boys
Yeah.
and the pirate crews.
They're all outsiders, right? Who just want to do their own thing.
Yeah, they've made their own little families and found a place where they belong.
Outside of what everyone tells them to do.
Yeah, exactly. And we can't forget the strong women in both stories.
Oh, yeah, like Elizabeth Swann.
Yeah, and Wendy.
They're both brave and independent.
They don't let anyone tell them what to do.
They know what they want.
Exactly. So we've got all these really interesting connections between the stories. But what about when they made the Pirates movies?
Yeah.
Did they do anything on purpose to kind of give a nod to Peter Pan?
Well, it's hard to say for sure unless they come out and tell us.
Right.
But we can look at some behind-the-scenes stuff and see what we can find.
Yeah. Like, did you know they almost didn't even make Pirates of the Caribbean?
Yeah, I heard that too. It's crazy to think about.
Can you imagine a world without Captain Jack Sparrow?
No.
I heard they were even thinking about just releasing it straight to video.
It's amazing how things could have been so different.
So different.
Yeah.
And did you know that Johnny Depp wasn't their first choice to play Jack Sparrow?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine anyone else playing him now. But at first they wanted Matthew McConaughey or Carrie Ellis.
Wow, that's wild. It really makes you appreciate how Johnny Depp took inspiration from Keith Richards.
Right.
And made the character his own.
And I heard he even added those gold teeth himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And get this.
What?
They actually thought about having Robert De Niro play Barbossa.
You're kidding?
Can you imagine how different that movie would have been?
Wow. Yeah, that's a completely different vibe.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was the director, Gore Verbinski,
Yeah.
who really wanted Johnny Depp for the part.
He must have seen something special in him.
Yeah, he knew Johnny Depp would be perfect for what he wanted to do with the movie.
And Verbinski's vision was really interesting,
Oh, yeah.
He wanted to make a pirate movie that felt new and exciting, but still had all those classic elements.
Yeah, like swashbuckling and adventure.
Exactly. And it's a tough thing to do, but he managed to pull it off.
Oh, yeah.
I think he did a great job.
Pirates of the Caribbean really captures that sense of adventure and fantasy. It's something that people of all ages can enjoy.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that has in common with Peter Pan.
Right, that feeling of wonder and possibility.
Like anything can happen.
It makes you want to fly off to Neverland or sail the seas with Captain Jack.
Absolutely. And speaking of Neverland,
Yes.
let's get into some of those fan theories.
Okay.
Some of them are really out there.
Oh, I know.
But they're all proof that people still love both Peter Pan and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, they make you think about the stories in a whole new way.
Hey, get your imagination going.
All right, hit me with some of the most interesting ones.
Okay, so one theory is that Captain Hook went to this fancy school called Eton College,
Wow.
and that he even met another famous pirate, Long John Silver, from Treasure Island.
Wait, so you're saying all these pirate stories could be connected?
Yeah, it's like they all exist in the same world.
Like a whole universe of pirates.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And then there's this idea that when Peter Pan won't grow up, it's actually a metaphor for dying.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of dark.
A little.
But some people think that Peter takes kids to Neverland when they die so they can stay young forever.
That's kind of creepy. But it makes you think about the story differently.
Yeah, it adds another layer to it.
And it reminds me of the curse of the Aztec gold in Pirates,
Oh, yeah.
where the pirates become undead.
Right.
They can't really live or die.
Yeah, they're stuck.
Both stories kind of look at this idea of staying young and having to grow old.
That's a good point.
And, some people even think Captain Hook could be Peter Pan's father.
What?
I know, right?
Wow.
It would explain why they hate each other so much.
Yeah, it would add a whole new dimension to their rivalry.
And here's a theory that's really popular.
Okay, tell me.
Some people think Pirates of the Caribbean is actually a prequel to Peter Pan.
A prequel?
Yeah.
How could that be? Those movies are like hundreds of years apart.
I know it sounds crazy, but there are a few things that make people think it's possible.
Like what?
Remember how Captain Hook said he knew Long John Silver?
Oh.
Maybe Jack Sparrow and Hook sailed the seas together at some point.
They do both have that whole never growing up thing.
Right, and maybe Jack Sparrow ends up becoming Captain Hook.
Like maybe he starts out all fun and carefree, but then something happens and he turns into this bitter old pirate.
That's a pretty cool idea.
It's fun to think about.
It just shows you how these stories can spark our imaginations.
Yeah, even if the connections aren't real, it's fun to explore them.
I always thought those connections between Peter Pan and pirates were just me making things up.
Yeah.
But after hearing those theories and thinking about it, I'm not so sure.
Right, it makes you wonder.
And isn't that what makes a good story? It stays with you and you find new things in it even years later.
It keeps you coming back for more.
I have to admit, I'm seeing Pirates of the Caribbean differently now.
Yeah.
All those adventures and those crazy characters.
And that sense of freedom.
Is that those Peter Pan vibes are there for a reason?
I think so too, whether the filmmakers were thinking about Peter Pan or not.
Yeah.
The themes are similar. It shows that we're all fascinated by escaping the ordinary and finding adventure.
It's like both stories are tapping into this human need to be free,
Yeah.
to want something more than just everyday life.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes them so popular, even after all these years.
It makes you wonder if there's a little bit of Peter Pan in all of us.
Or a little bit of a pirate.
Maybe we all just want to break the rules and have some fun.
I think that's a great way to put it. And, it makes you want to go back and watch both Peter Pan and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right. To see if you can spot any more connections.
Yeah. Pay attention to the details. The little things you might have missed before.
And maybe you'll even come up with your own theories about how these two worlds are connected.
Yeah. Who knows? The possibilities are endless.
That's the beauty of a great story.
Absolutely. It sparks our imagination and makes us want to keep exploring.
And that's what we're all about here on The Deep Dive.
That's right. Always digging deeper.
So until next time, keep exploring those stories and keep those imaginations running wild.
And we'll see you on the next deep dive.
Bye, everyone.
Bye! He did a fantastic job. And that mix of action and humor with a little bit of magic,
Yeah.
It really reminds me of Peter Pan.
You're so right. They both have that sense of wonder and possibility. I mean, who hasn't dreamed of flying off to Neverland or sailing with Captain Jack?
Exactly. And, since we're talking about Neverland, let's talk about some fan theories about these two stories.
Oh, I love fan theories. Okay, lay them on me.
Okay, so some of them are pretty wild.
Oh, I bet.
But they all show us how much people love both Peter Pan and Pirates of the Caribbean. And they make us look at these stories in new ways.
Yeah, they really get you thinking. Okay, so what kind of connections are people making between the two?
Well, one theory says that Captain Hook might have gone to this really fancy school called Eton College.
Oh, wow.
And get this, they think he might have even known Long John Silver from Treasure Island.
Whoa, so you're saying all these pirate stories could be connected?
It's possible, like they all happen in the same world.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
The whole pirate universe?
Exactly. And there's another theory that says that Peter Pan never growing up, that it's actually a metaphor for death.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little dark, I know.
Yeah, a bit.
But some people think that when kids die, Peter takes them to Neverland so they can stay young forever.
That's a little creepy.
I know, right?
But it's interesting. Gives the story a whole new meaning.
It makes you think about it differently, and it kind of reminds me of the curse of the Aztec gold in Pirates.
Oh, yeah.
Where the pirates become undead.
Right.
So they can't really die, but they can't really live either.
They're stuck.
Exactly. And, both stories kind of look at this idea of what it means to stay young and what happens when we get older.
Yeah, you have to grow up eventually.
And there are some people who even think that Captain Hook could be Peter Pan's father.
Whoa, wait, what?
I know, right?
That's a crazy theory. But it would make sense.
Yeah, it would explain why they're always fighting.
Yeah, like there's this deeper reason why they hate each other.
Exactly. It would add a whole new layer to their relationship.
Okay, and this next theory is a big one.
Okay, what is it?
Some people think Pirates of the Caribbean is actually a prequel to Peter Pan.
A prequel. So you're telling me that pirates from hundreds of years ago are connected to Peter Pan?
I know it sounds crazy,
It does.
but there are some things that make people think it could be true.
Okay, like what?
But remember how Captain Hook said he knew Long John Silver?
Yeah.
Well, what if Jack Sparrow and Hook sailed together at some point?
Interesting.
They do both have that whole eternal youth thing going on.
They do. And maybe Jack Sparrow ends up becoming Captain Hook. Like
Yeah.
maybe he starts out all fun and adventurous,
Mm-hmm.
but then something bad happens and he turns into this mean old pirate.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
It's a fun theory to think about.
It really is.
Yeah.
And, it just goes to show you how these stories can make our imaginations run wild.
Yeah, even if the connections aren't real, it's fun to explore them.
I used to think those connections between Peter Pan and pirates were just me,
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm not so sure.
It makes you wonder.
Right, and that's what a good story should do.
Absolutely. It should stay with you and make you think about it even years later.
I'm starting to look at Pirates of the Caribbean in a whole new light.
Me too.
All those adventures and crazy characters.
And that sense of freedom.
It's like those Peter Pan vibes are there for a reason.
Yeah, and even if the filmmakers weren't thinking about Peter Pan when they made the movies,
Yeah.
there are definitely some similarities. It shows that we're all fascinated by the idea of escaping the ordinary and finding adventure.
Yeah, like both stories are tapping into this human need to be free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To want something more than just everyday life.
Yeah. It really is amazing how these stories from different times can still mean so much to us today.
Mhm.
And after looking at all these connections,
Yeah.
it's obvious that Peter Pan and Pirates of the Caribbean, they both speak to something deep inside of us.
Absolutely. They give us a way to escape, a glimpse into a world where anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why they've become such classics.
I was thinking about that line from Peter Pan.
Which one?
To die will be an awfully big adventure.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually censored during World War I.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Well, probably because it hit too close to home for people at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. I mean, during a war,
Right.
death is a very real thing.
Exactly.
It's not an adventure.
It's a sad reminder of how what's happening in the world can change how we see stories.
Mm-hmm. What might have seemed like a fun idea at one time could be really painful at another.
But even with those darker parts,
Yeah,
Peter Pan still has that childlike wonder and possibility.
for sure.
It's something we never really lose no matter how old we get.
You're right. And Pirates of the Caribbean, even though it's a little more realistic,
Mm-hmm.
it still has that sense of adventure and escaping from reality.
So as we wrap things up here,
Yeah.
I want to hear from you, our listeners. What do you think about all of this?
Were you surprised by any of the connections or fan theories?
Did you notice any of those Peter Pan vibes while you were watching Pirates?
Maybe you've even come up with your own theories about how these two stories are connected.
I know for me, looking at these stories side by side,
Yeah.
it really shows how powerful those classic story elements are.
Like what?
Like the hero who rebels against the rules,
Mm-hmm.
the magical island,
Right.
the search for treasure.
Those are stories that people have loved for centuries.
It's amazing to see how those elements are used in different ways.
They're different stories and cultures and time periods.
And it makes you realize that even stories that seem totally different
Yeah.
can actually have something in common.
Some deeper meaning that connects with all of us.
So here's something to think about.
Okay.
Since both stories are about escaping being an adult
Mm-hmm.
and not following the rules
Right.
and just living a life full of adventure, do you think there's a little bit of Peter Pan in all of us?
Or maybe a little bit of a pirate.
I think there is.
Me too.
So we encourage you to go back and watch these stories again.
Yeah.
Look for those little details you might have missed.
Think about the symbolism and what it all means.
And who knows, maybe you'll even come up with your own theories about how Peter Pan and Pirates of the Caribbean are connected.
That's the great thing about a good story. It makes us want to keep exploring.
And that's what we're all about here on The Deep Dive.
Always digging deeper.
So until next time, keep exploring those stories.
And keep those imaginations running wild.
We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.